Ladies and gentlemen, here in this video, we are going to be going over NVIDIA specifically and what kind of correlation we could see with NVIDIA's earnings this upcoming week and AMC stock. It could help fuel a potentially large rally to the upside. And I think this is something we need to talk about here on the channel. So hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. Yeah, and let's get started. So in the last video, if you guys have not seen that video, check it out. It is a complete banger. It is something that you need to see, okay? All of your major firms, Renaissance, Goldman, JP Morgan, Susquehanna, Point72, all of your big firms are increasing their positions by millions of shares in AMC. Selling out of put positions, going very long at AMC, like very long at AMC. Renaissance owns almost 5 million shares in AMC. Susquehanna has 24 million shares worth of upside exposure. State Street increased their position by like 300%, owning 8.5 million shares now. Jane Street, same thing there, up their position by big time. Vanguard bought like 10 million shares last quarter, increased their position by 48%. Huge numbers we're seeing here, okay? Now, it's all pointing in one direction. Let's be honest. There's no denying that. There's no coming out here saying, yeah, it's not that good. It is that good. It looks that good. And I do have to be quiet because the little guy's over there sleeping, so can't be as energetic as normal. Definitely don't want to wake him up. He's teething, getting his front teeth in, and not having a great time at all when he's awake. So nonetheless, that's why we're a little bit quiet here in today's video. But if I could show you my excitement, I would be screaming, okay? I would be yelling, but yeah, it's just not worth it right now, okay? But it is that good. I just have to be quieter, so you're not gonna see me expressing that here in this video. But internally, outside of him sleeping, yeah, I'm telling everyone, I'm screaming from the rooftops, baby. We have not seen this since before AMC went on the last rally, like big rally in 2021, which was like a short squeeze, right? So you could potentially be looking at a short squeeze. Just, based on the data that I'm seeing here, it wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be shocked to see, some kind of short squeeze start. Now, with that being said, AMC has their earnings later this month. And Adam Aron has really talked up the earnings call, saying there's going to be a lot to pay attention to, essentially. Kind of teasing that there is going to be some news announced. Now, Adam Aron's definition of news and ours can be different, but if I think he's implying that we're not going to see any more dilution, that we're going to get a commitment to not diluting shareholders. Now that's not selfless from Adam Aron. They have to do that. They have to get AMC stock higher. They have to be able to raise capital. And that's a fact, right? They have to get AMC back above 10, preferably 15, 20 plus dollars per share to even have it make sense. Now, let me tell you right now as well, if you do see AMC stock go through a big rally, say AMC hits $20 or $30 per share, which honestly in this marketplace would not be too crazy, then AMC raising capital at those prices could actually be very good fundamentally for AMC. You guys got to remember, if AMC is raising capital at these low prices, it does nothing for AMC fundamentally. And that's why the markets just puke every time Adam Aron raises capital. But I mean, last couple offerings, AMC has sold about 40 million shares each time. If Adam Aron sold 40 million shares at $20 a pop, if the share price was $20, then that would raise about $800 million. That puts a dent in potentially paying off debt. if the stock goes higher than that, let's say $30 per share, then you put a sizable dent in the debt. It's 1.2 million shares. And then if you consider there's how many shares are outstanding anymore, I honestly don't even know. Let's see. Shares outstanding. Okay, 251 million shares outstanding. Free float shares, about 250 million shares. So that makes it pretty simple. That's about 10% dilution, right? Your equity goes down about 10%, 5%. If AMC issues 40 million shares, roughly about 10%. We can go ahead and figure that out precisely. Divided by 40. Roughly about 10%. You lose, right? Could be a little bit less than that, but roughly in that area. Call it 6%, 6.5%. That sounds like a good number. If AMC raises 40 million shares or sells 40 million shares onto the marketplace, if AMC raises $300 million like they did last time, and you get 6.5% of your position diluted, that doesn't sound great. But if AMC could raise 1.2 billion and you were diluted, say 6.5%, that's not terrible. That's a lot easier to swallow. And that's precisely what happened with Carvana. Carvana stock went higher via a short squeeze. They were able to raise capital at way higher prices, pay off basically all of their debt. And then next thing you know, a short squeeze that was supposed to be temporary turns into something that is longer lasting because it's fundamentally positive at that point, right? So that's important to keep in mind. Now, we have seen this correlation recently between the small caps and NVIDIA. And I explain this in quadrants. You have the higher end quadrant, like Magnificent Seven names, big tech names. Your mid quadrant, like your mid caps. Your lower quadrant, like your small cap stocks, right? And what's happened is NVIDIA is just such a big stock now, and there's been so much money chasing the stock that you've kind of drained your lower two quadrants, and the money's went into the higher end quadrants. NVIDIA, now that it's $1.8 trillion, it's been getting hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into it. That money has went from stocks like AMC, stocks like Tesla, stocks like Fubo, stocks like Roku, your lower end quadrants of our markets. The days where NVIDIA is red, even slightly, the Russell is performing very well. We're already seeing this correlation. So it's almost certain NVIDIA is going to sell off next week. Let's be honest. The question is, are earnings really good, really strong? Or are there pockets that are not as strong? And what does demand look like? NVIDIA has pulled forward a lot of demand. They've went from $7 billion in the year ago quarter, $6 billion in the year ago quarter, to now they're going to pull in about $20 billion. They've pulled forward a lot of demand. Now, a couple things to note there. These GPUs, these H100s, A100s, NVIDIA is selling for $35,000 a piece. Normally would not sell for $35,000 a piece. Normally, they're MSRP'd at like $8,000. Manufacturers suggested retail price. Now, they've been able to charge more because everyone has wanted these GPUs and they want them as quickly as possible. So companies are willing to pay more. If you front ran a lot of demand or pulled forward a lot of demand, then that's great when GPUs are $35,000. But if the demand is not as aggressive now, potentially, pricing could fall and that could hurt NVIDIA's top line, potentially bottom line as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Lead times for GPUs has went from about 12 months down to 3 to 4 months as well. So this is not speculation. We kind of already know the lead times are coming down. We haven't heard from NVIDIA. This is from a source within UBS. UBS says that's because, manufacturing has increased and they can just get more GPUs to more people. So UBS thinks that's going to be overall really good for numbers. But there's a possibility that it's just because, maybe there's less orders coming in for GPUs now. Maybe a lot of companies bought most of their GPUs they needed. So that puts pressure on not just volume, right? The number of GPUs that could be sold, but potentially pricing as well. And that could be big. Now, NVIDIA is not priced for an end to this massive growth right now. It's just not. It's priced for continued growth. If you get a growth scare, growth concerns, that's where NVIDIA could plummet. Now, the options market is pricing at about 11%. That would be $200 billion of market cap value lost or gained. Now, market cap doesn't just disappear. So if the stock falls 11% and you lose $200 billion of market cap value, let's say theoretically, well, that money's not gone. It's just in people's accounts now, right? The people that sold it collect that money up front. Then that money gets dispersed likely into other areas of our markets. Your small cap stocks being the notable ones that are outperforming when NVIDIA does fall. So, that potentially can have a huge effect on AMC. And I'm sure if you're an investor or trader in AMC, you've noticed the relationship NVIDIA has had with the small caps. It's very obvious. Days where NVIDIA is down, small caps are up. So yeah, I think either way, NVIDIA is going to fall next week. It's just pricing in a lot. The expectations are way too high. NVIDIA, even last earnings, they blew it out the park, raised guidance huge, much more than Wall Street expected. What happened? The stock sold off 2.5% the next day. But whether you get a 2.5% sell-off or a 11 to 20% sell-off, those are drastically different. And I think either way it would be positive for small caps. But if NVIDIA did sell off a lot, then it would likely hit the broader markets as well. It would hit your other big tech names. I mean, if NVIDIA is not safe from a collapsing, yeah, nobody else is safe. Okay, that's the way that I'm looking at it. I think the markets would look at it like that as well. So I do think that means good things are coming next week for AMC Stock, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, option activity on Friday, pretty bullish relative to what we have seen recently. Positive order value of 54%. You have seen 7 orders totaling $289.9 thousand. Volume to the call side of 61.26%. Volume to the put side of 38.74%. So decent there as well. If you take a look at the short position, you do have 12.21% short interest of free flow, $149.48 million worth of short positions, days to cover 1.78, 30.57 million shares that are currently sold short, shares out on loan 32.53 million, cost to borrow 1.04%, utilization of 50.1%, and a short score of 64.05 out of 100. Cost to borrow max sitting down here at about 8%. So decent amount of demand to short AMC. Stock tracker data indicates for next week, you got about 13,000 calls currently in the money, 48,000 calls out the money. In the money puts at 3,400, out the money puts at about 22,300. I expect we're going to see a lot more, options from last week roll over to this week, but we'll have to wait and see. We should know more by, let's say Monday or Tuesday, and actually see those numbers. Next week, you're going to get the Fed minutes, the FOMC minutes, and that can have an effect on the markets, but it might not. I think everyone's going to be waiting for NVIDIA. Percent of stocks above their 50-day moving average still looking weak, but not terrible at 55.3%, well off of your high in December at 86%. But not quite as low as what you've seen recently when it hit like 43%, right? So definitely could be worse there. That's for sure. Now, stock twits, you do have, if we look at the sentiment is neutral at 52. Yesterday it was 36. That was categorized as bearish. Message volume today is 53, a little bit lower than yesterday at 55. Pretty similar numbers, but yesterday you were high, today you are normal. Participation ratio has been steadily increasing. That is at 54. That means more people are talking about AMC stock. That's the most important thing of all. that is the only thing that I really care about when it comes down to it. Now, as far as where I think AMC stock could go, it depends on what happens on earnings, what is announced. But I mean, you could be looking at uh, $10+ per share, in my personal opinion. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. You guys have a great rest of your day and your weekends. Remember, markets are not open tomorrow. They will be open on Tuesday. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.